Welcome to Behind the Tools. Here's Tradify CEO and your host, Michael Steckler.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Tools. Great this week to have Ben Greenwood from Ready Set Paint, based out in Adelaide in Australia. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Nice shirt, by the way. It's great. You've got the branding there and everything. It's cool.
Match it all.
Yeah, it's really good. So you're obviously a painting business, for those that hadn't figured that out, and you're based. Do you want to maybe just give us a brief intro about the sort of work you do and where you're based, etc.?
So we're based in Adelaide in South Australia. We're on the southern side in Adelaide. So there's a little region called like the Fleurieu Peninsula, and which basically works around sort of the southern suburbs. But we do anything from interior, exterior, small commercial, residential, concrete, all sorts of anything that involves paint, we'll give it a crack. So
fantastic. Cool. Yeah. And how many people are you now in the company?
We've got 3. Have a couple of subcontractors that sort of go up and down, just depending on workloads. But mainly, we've got quite a small team that we just kind of try and keep everyone busy and can try and keep on top of the work and keep the quality up. So
great. And you got a great story about how you got into the. I'd love to, if you could talk you through kind of what got you into painting, what got you into the trades.
So basically, I was working at I finished year 12, and then that sort of I led into just getting sort of like a part-time job, which led into a full-time job at Bunnings. And basically from there, I had somebody approach me who, because I was working in the paint department at Bunnings, and they basically approached me and asked if I wanted an apprenticeship in painting or was looking at that. And so, I jumped at it and started that. The long-term goal wasn't actually to stay as a painter. The long-term goal after my apprenticeship was actually to join the police force. So at the end of my 4 years, I kind of looked at moving forward and joining the police force. That kind of fell through due to government funding and whatever. That's a whole nother long story in itself. But and that sort of led me into basically deciding to start my own painting business. Back was probably 4 years ago now, I think. Sort of haven't looked back since.
That's a fantastic story. And Bunnings, for those, if you're in the UK, it's kind of the B&Q. If you're in the US, Home Depot, big store down this end of the world. Cool, really great story. So you want to be a police officer? That's quite different then, going into painting, and then I'm presuming you haven't looked back either by the sounds of it. It sounds like business has been booming. Yeah,
pretty well. Yeah, kind of just sort of like my lifestyle's kind of changed. Having a little son now. And a family, and wanting to continue to grow the business, it would kind of be a bit of a step back to at this point in time to go and join the police force. I'd also lose out on massive family time as well. Having to do night shifts and stuff like that. So I kind of enjoy being able to have the flexibility to be around family and be present during these early years. So.
Yeah, cool. And what was the moment that made you sort of decide to go out on your own? You started, but you were an apprentice, and then what made you sort of, be brave enough to set your own thing up?
I knew I could do more than working for someone. I've always had like a bit of a passion and drive to continually be achieving. And so by working for someone else, I was always kind of limited to what I could do. It kind of just pushed me in the direction of wanting more, and then it just sort of flowed from there. And I thought, bugger it, I'm going to make the jump, and went for it.
And how did you get your first customer?
So my first customer was actually just a small like a volume builder over here. I basically just teed it up, had a bit of money backing me from saving whilst I was working for somebody else, and I just sort of started and did it, and then it kind of just went from there. Like before I knew it, I had a couple of jobs backed up, and it just went nuts from then. So. And
did you use the Bunnings connection out of interest? Did that help? Do they have people coming in who ask for painting companies?
No, because since I had left the apprenticeship from that Bunnings connection originally, I had worked for 2 or 3 employers since then. And so I still keep in contact with them today, and we still palm each other work here and there.
Yeah.
when we're too busy or can't do it, or it's because we're actually both on opposite ends of town. So if it's something that's on the other side of the city, I'll give it to him. So yeah.
And then, sort of coming into this, you built your own business, you started off. What was the, aside from talking through the sort of first customer, what was the biggest challenge, do you think, for you coming into this?
Oh, the biggest challenge probably would have actually been the unknown.
Right.
Not knowing how it was going to go, the risk of actually doing it. And, you've always, when you work for someone, you always know you're going to get paid that week.
Yeah.
So it was the unknown of, not knowing what was going to happen, what was around the corner, whether work was going to be constant, and whether money was going to be coming in. So that was the biggest sort of challenge for me with going out on my own.
And how did you approach that, sort of the business side of things? Did you talk to other people about what they'd done previously? Did you talk to your old boss? What's your approach to that?
Kind of a bit of everything, really. Like I have some pretty good contacts that I sort of had talked to in the past, and whilst I was doing it, even like a couple of my old bosses were pretty helpful with that sort of with getting it up and running, and they were happy to help me out with that. Just kind of I'm like I said earlier, I'm pretty driven, so I kind of did a lot of research and a lot of my own stuff, and kind of just put it all together and just made it happen, really. Yeah.
And did you have a process? Did you put like a process together? Did you sort of spend time to sit down and say where you wanted to be in a few years, or what was the plan?
There wasn't really much of a plan to be honest. I was 24, 3 at the time, so 23-year-olds don't really plan a hell of a lot, but I kind of just put everything together. Got a logo and got all my registrations and licenses sort of set up, and then just went for it.
I'm sort of intrigued. Your, for people that want to go and look up Ready, Set, Paint in Adelaide, you have a great kind of social presence. I know it's a really cool video on your Facebook page that sort of tells us very, extremely professional, and it seems like you've intentionally focused on that as a marketing vehicle to get credibility and build your customer base. Was that something you did from the get-go?
No, it wasn't. It was probably about after 2 years of being out on my own. I moved from being on the northern side of the city to the southern side. And I basically just, when you're starting a whole new area, you need new customers, get some awareness. And so I hit up a social media marketing company. And basically we've worked together for like the last 2 or so years now. Nearly. And so it was basically just building up some real good brand awareness within my local service area, and trying to, grow the business. And, there's not many painting businesses in Adelaide that are willing to, or, market the way that we do. And we want to try and be different within how we run our business. And so, that was kind of the idea behind basically pushing the social media. And, being 2022, social media and advertising in that sort of way is a huge advantage. So we kind of wanted to set the bar pretty high with that.
Yeah, it's a smart move. I mean, something that comes up regularly on this podcast around, how people market. And it seems the Facebook business page, Instagram account, possibly YouTube and some other things, as well as a presence, which you can get from that on, locally on Google. Yeah. Seems to be a really powerful concoction of things to do. And presumably that company did the video. Did they do the video for you and sort of manage that?
They did the whole works, and and continue to run our social media and ads and stuff. But like having the video, it really builds trust between us and the customer. And they're not having to try and work out, actually get us onto a job to be able to trust us. Like they can see from watching the video and the social media, go, okay, these guys obviously know what they're doing. And just builds that credibility up before you've actually met with the customer.
Yeah, I think it's really important, isn't it? I think it's a great video, by the way. So I think it does tell that story. And do you track? Does that drive a lot of new business for you?
It does. Yeah, we use that video a lot for Facebook ads and like the marketing and really pushing that video out there because like I said, it builds a lot of trust, and so people. It seems to have a lot of clicks and hits on through all the paid ads and stuff. It gains a lot of traction, that video, which is really helpful for us.
Cool. And then sort of painting, you sort of reference that you do indoor and outdoor. How do you manage? I'm presuming there's sort of situations, and it's been a pretty kind of odd couple of years and difficult for lots of people for lots of different reasons. But presumably the painting business, how sort of consistent and predictable is it for you? Are there things that can sort of knock things off kilter?
As in, like, you know, like weather and stuff?
Yeah.
It is a massive juggle, and it's constant. As I'm sure you're well aware, you know, they're not exactly 100% accurate with letting you know what the weather's going to be for the next week. And it, you know, it changes at any moment. But it's basically just trying to keep on top of it as much as possible and staying organised and ahead of the game, so that you can plan that week or 2 weeks in advance. It just kind of is what it is, and you just got to kind of take the hits as they come. You know, some days it works out, some days it doesn't. You know, we haven't had many days where we haven't had something to go to. You know, there's always indoor work somewhere. It's just whether you can organise it in the right time.
Right, in the right time,
So, but no, we make it work.
And you must have some, you know, I have a personal experience of a plasterer who came to my house once, and we had an exposed brick wall, which my wife was very fond of. And I went out for the day and he came back and he'd plastered it. And I remember saying to him, he sort of took one look at me and he said, this wasn't supposed to be plastered, was it? I said, yeah, I hate to break it to you. Any sort of with painting, any stories like that where you've wrong color or worse than gone wrong? There must be some interesting things that you see.
No, not really. Not that I can pull off the top of my head. No. Oh, there's been some wrong colours in the past through, like, you know, miscommunication via emails or with a middle party not continuing. But other than that, I haven't really had too many, you know, touch wood.
No workplace accidents? You haven't dropped the paint on your head or anything?
I've stepped in a paint drum. So I was rolling a ceiling and I had the paint tray, you know, sitting on the ground behind me. And I was just sort of walking back and in went the foot. You know, my whole foot was covered in paint, but it wasn't really ideal, but yeah.
It's always good to hear that professionals do that as well. And, you know, you're hiring, so your approach to hiring, you just talked about how you use some subcontractors for some work and you have the permanent team. How have you approached it? I mean, you came up as an apprentice, but I don't think you have any apprentices on board yet. Is that a plan you're looking to change? Or?
Yeah, in the future, I would like to have some apprentices. I've kind of stayed away from that kind of for just at the moment. I want to build up quite a decent like tradesman base before I look into the apprentices side of things, just from like a legality point of view, with having, you know, enough supervisors, but also being able to manage that on site. You know, it's quite versatile to be able to have a couple of tradesmen and being able to split them up, whereas if I've got an apprentice, he's always got to be with somebody. So yeah, once I have enough tradesmen, that's sort of the vision for apprentices. But yeah.
And now you're not 23 anymore. How do you approach sort of your business process and systems, and also thinking about the future?
We try and approach it as professionally as possible. Trying to be basically upfront, have everything written down. So I've got like when I go out and do quotes, I've got what's the name for it? Like a product package basically, which I send out to my clients when I do the quote. And that's another thing, you know, with building credibility, they have all the information that they would need to know about us, the process, what's included, and it saves the backwards and forth with phone calls and text messages about what about this and what about that. It's basically all provided for them. So I try to keep everything as professional as possible and as easy and straightforward. I find a lot of other businesses, they kind of haven't got that kind of worked out, and the process goes up and down. And the experience for the customer is felt in that way. Whereas trying to build that trust up, everything's on the plate, it's there, they've got all the answers, so it basically tries to drive our sales revenue up by then they know what decision to make. They just go, we're going with them.
Cool. It's really good advice actually, to have that packaging. And have you been affected at all? I don't know if pricing on paint has been affected by everything that's going on supply chain wise. Has it had any impact at all?
Not from a supply point of view. There has been sort of half yearly increases, 5-10% for the last probably 2 and a bit years, obviously since COVID happened. Like they always had price increases, but not
Right.
to the amount that they had. But yeah, supply hasn't been an issue as of yet.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's good to hear. And how do you approach pricing? Just out of interest. I mean, you came in, you kicked the business off. How did you get to a position to sort of decide how you charge?
Trial and error, really. Well, for the first part of it, I recently, the last probably a year and a half, I've had a business coach who's worked through everything. They basically run through all my numbers, and we've worked out what us as a business need to make to basically turn over and operate. And then obviously the profit margins that we need to hit per day. And then we just basically scaled it, or per year, and then basically just scaled it down to what we need to earn per day. So when it comes to a job, I know what I need to charge each guy out for an hour or for a day. And it just makes it, easy as I've got it all on a spreadsheet. So it works really well.
Yeah, the business coach thing seems to work really, really well for trades companies. I think if you find a good one. And did you do some level of business planning around where you want to be in 3 years? You sort of took the baseline of, this is what we need to make to be profitable and sustainable. Did you look out further than that?
Yeah. Like there was a lot of goal setting within that, the course and doing the program. There was 3 months, 6, 12 month, 3 year, 5 year plans. So just basically just to seeing with a projector of the business and where we're wanting to be at, and then changing what we're doing now to try and suit that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And there's a lot of people that listen to this who are probably either about to do what you've done, have done it, or in the middle of it. Any sort of advice, your experience from sort of starting out on your own from scratch, that things you might have done differently?
Would probably get pay somebody to do it properly the first time. I know it's hard, when you're starting out, because, money can be an issue and whatnot, but getting stuff done properly the first time and not having to, rebuild your website 3 times is a massive thing. Basically just paying somebody who knows what they're doing and doing it right the first time would be my sort of advice to people.
Was that, and for you, was that the website, social media stuff? Was that one example of that, where you just realized it'd be
pretty much. I had run through I had a website originally through somebody else, and it just wasn't performing in the same way as my current website does now. But even just in with everything though, I just across the board, just paying to do it properly. You can't be an expert at everything and in every field. There's a reason there's different fields for everything.
Of course,
basically just diversifying, but it makes the business look better too, because you're not trying to wear all the hats all at once either.
It's great advice. I hear the word outsource used a lot, whether it's, get an accountant straight away. You've talked about the kind of, website advertising side of the house, and certainly there's other things. So it's and a business coach seems to be at the right moment in time for the business. I think it seems to be a really good way of looking at things. And you sort of built the team. How did you approach that when you hired your sort of first couple of employees? What was your approach to that side of things?
Basically just trying to, for me, I try not to treat my employees or subcontractors as how I had been treated as an apprentice. I try and, no one wants to go to work really. And, we'd rather all be on holidays and having fun and whatever. So I try and make work for us as enjoyable as possible and feel like we're all in it together. I'm not going to go send one guy to, paint a whole house worth of ceilings on his own. We'll all go there together. We'll get the ceilings done and get over with it. Because, like I said, no one wants to go to work. We're happy that, you want to go on holidays. But, I've tried to make work as fun as possible for the team. And so we've tried to portray that when we've been hiring and taking on team members as well. And
have they been with you for a while now, those team members that you brought on board?
Yeah, probably 2 years now.
Good.
Originally, so been for about 4 years we've been operating. The first year to 2 years I was kind of on my own, and then subcontractors. And then since the 2 to 4 years was employees and a mix of subcontractors within that. So
fantastic. Yeah, it's really good advice, and it's something I've heard a lot, is that common theme of I treat people the way I want to be treated, not the way I was treated coming through the ranks, which I think is it's a good sort of shift in the industry.
and not that I was treated in a bad way. It was more just from like a lack of organisation, and getting paid weekly and stuff like that. Like that's a real big thing for me. So that's
Cool. And one of the other things that I think is sort of interested me a lot is this idea of what it means to be a successful trades business. Do you think there is, could you summarize what it is you think you've done that's made you, apart from some of the things you've already mentioned, that really typifies why you've been successful? It sounds like the business has been great, by the way. I sort of got that in advance, and that's really cool to hear. Anything you would summarize that you've done, the sort of magic ingredients?
Probably just a lot of the work behind the scenes. It's always the little 1% efforts along the way that basically put together everything, whether it, like I said earlier, with the product package, or it takes a little bit of time to do that, but once it's done, it builds up this whole frontage and portfolio of capabilities that the business has got, which then presents that professional per se to the clients. And so it would just be like doing the little things. They might feel like they're a waste of time at the start, but basically doing that, I reckon, would probably be my go-to.
Cool. We always finish on a few rapid fire questions, and we've sort of tweaked them based on the trade that someone's in. So the first one would be, if you weren't a painter, I know you're going to be in the police force, but if you weren't going to be a painter in the police force, what trade would you pick?
Oh, probably, I don't know. I reckon I would probably still stick with painter. I reckon I like being the underdog. I reckon everyone sort of just goes, electricians, they earn lots of money. Plumbers, they earn lots of money. They're all easy. But I reckon I like being the underdog. So I reckon I would probably stick with being a
stick with
painter.
The painting.
Everyone always goes, "What do you do?" And they go, "Oh, I'm a painter." They go, "Oh, just a painter." So I like being the underdog.
How did you come up with Ready Set Paint, by the way? I didn't ask you that up front, but
I think I had, from memory, I think I had done a Google search of like painting business names, and I don't know, I came across it, and it kind of just stuck with me and really kind of worked. But it works really well, even though it seems a little bit cliche at the start. It actually works really well with people remembering a business name. I don't know if you've seen the social media, but I've got the car all sign written and everything. And whenever I'm driving around, everyone knows where I am. They remember it. Whereas I find if you were to do like a name like JD and Sons, it's not as people don't remember it as easily as Ready Set Paint, stand out in your face kind of thing. So
I think it works really well. It does what it says on the tin, excuse the pun. But it's a good name. I think people listening, it is something that I think you do want, things that are memorable to people. So I think it's a good name. And then if you had a work vehicle with unlimited budget, what would you buy?
Well,
it's a new question we've added.
Probably go a G-Wagon, I reckon, a Mercedes G-Wagon. That would be nice. I'm not sure how well it would go with paint, but who cares?
I'm sure if you had it liveried nicely, I'm sure it'd look great. And then you're doing indoor, you're doing outdoor. What would be your favorite? What's your favorite type of painting job that you tend to do, that you'd have preference for?
Anything I can use the spray gun for.
Make
it as easy as possible. So yes, spray the town.
They are amazing, those things. I started to paint a room, shall we say, with a traditional roller, and then I sort of got fed up with it because it was taking too long. I wasn't doing a very good job, and I always feel like I should use tradespeople in the business I'm in. So I got someone around, and he got this spray gun, and it's just unreal, the amount of time and the quality of the job.
Changes.
It's a massive game changer. Incredible. And then on-site lunch. When you're on site, what would be your go-to lunch if you wanted to treat yourself?
Or would be either a Vietnamese roll or a sushi would be my go-to.
Nice. And what would you have in the roll? What would be your...
it'd be crispy pork. It would be a combination, So crispy pork and chicken.
Lovely. I like Vietnamese. And then last one, last couple of questions, if you have any pet peeves when you're on site, what would they be?
It would be laziness and excuses, and those two combined.
They're usually combined in my experience.
They would be my top two sort of peeves. Yeah, because I try and make it as easy as possible for everything to run as smoothly from all the organisation to everything.
Right.
So yeah, when something happens just from a lazy mistake, it's sort of and an obvious thing that should have been picked up or done, that would be my pet peeve. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, I totally agree. And then is there other people you come? So the last sort of thing we always ask, is there anyone you think we should speak to that you come across that would be make for an interesting conversation, like you have in the trades?
Oh, I'd probably go, I reckon Matt Downey from electrical communications would be my.
And where's he based?
He's based in Adelaide as well.
Cool. Okay.
But yeah, he'd be a good one to chat to, I reckon.
Fantastic. Well, Ben, look, really appreciate this. Congrats on the continued success. It sounds like you've built a really great business there. And, I think to go from, working in Bunnings and going out there and building your own business is a real testament to your efforts. So congratulations. I hope it keeps growing as well. It sounds like you've got lots of runway to hire more people and keep growing the business. So, it's good to hear.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to the future and, where everything goes. We're on the right path and, so excited to see what the future will bring.
Yeah, let's hope 2022 is a good year. Fingers crossed, touch wood, and all that. Yeah, cool, great. Well, thank you, and for all of our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Some good advice there from someone that's done it from the ground up themselves. And as always, if you've got any comments or questions, would like to rate and review us, we'd appreciate it. Until next time, cheers. See ya.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Behind the Tools is brought to you by Tradify, job management software for your trade business. If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know by leaving a review and be sure to tell your mates about it. Email behindthetools@tradifyhq.com if you or someone you know would be keen to join the show as a guest.